The morning light shines. The studio looked like a stage waiting for a staging. White backgrounds, reflectors, glass frames that reflect light. Everything is organized and yet stores energy. The crew is busy preparing the set. The property handyman sets up the antique chair. The fashion stylist checks the folds of the fabric. The last makeup artist pats the powder on Zhao Jinmai's cheek. Among the cacophony, two figures stood calm like the center of all waves. Zhang Linghe and Zhao Jinmai. The two of them have often worked together, but these sessions are different. A top fashion magazine commissioned an emotional concept, not just showing off clothes, but capturing the subtle connection between two personalities. Photographers want to show natural intimacy that is not forced. To that end, they asked for a duet that could share the symmetry of silence and warmth. When Linghe stepped in, neat suit, neatly combed hair, there was a small voice of awe from the set team. Jinmai, with her delicate dress and calm aura, sat holding the script of the pose, trying to catch her breath for professionalism to win. There is a sweet sense of tension. You know something is going to happen. Not just a beautiful pose, but something that goes from eye to eye, from breath to breath. Instructions that open space. You are not a model. Imagine that you are two people who have had feelings for each other for a long time. The photographer calmly directed, then wiped his hand on the camera. We start from the close-up, then move slowly to the touch. The hint was simple, but for Jinmai and Linghe it was a request to be honest. Behind the scenes, there were small whispers. Some assistants grinned, some of the crew raised their cameras silently. Linghe looked at Jinmai. In his eyes there is caution. He does not want to impose a role to the point of making his co-star uncomfortable. Jinmai looked back. There was nervousness disguised by a smile. He was aware the world was watching, but he also knew the importance of genuine moments to make photos speak. As they approached, the seconds seemed to tick slower. The lights flicker, and the photographer gives the signal. Slow. Let everything happen. First touch. Soft held shoulder. Linghe, put your hand on Jinmai's shoulder, as if you were saying, "I'm here," the photographer urged. Linghe's step was smooth. His hand raised, touching Jinmai's shoulder with a natural-looking tenderness. The touch was brief, but enough to cause a reaction. Jinmai sighed softly, as if he had received a warm message through the skin. The camera captured the moment in several frames. A silhouette of touched shoulders, a slightly tightened neckline, a Jinmai blush that became faintly pink. The crew looking from the monitor whispered excitedly. There's an energy that can't be engineered. The touch is a bridge. Not just a technique, but a gesture of attention. Linghe wasn't staring at the screen. He was staring at Jinmai, and in his eyes there was something more than photographic command. There was protection. Stacking proximity. Waist held with subtlety. Now it's closer, Linghe. Hold Jinmai's waist from behind. Let him lean on you, the low-voiced director directed. Linghe wrapped his hands around, fingers pressed against Jinmai's delicate waist. The touch wasn't rough. There was a precision of force that made Jinmai feel safe. He closed his eyes for a moment, then opened them again, giving a slight smile that was no longer a professional mask, but a flash of emotion. The camera captures that angle from several directions. From the side, from behind, from above, looking for the best frame that channels the flavor. On the monitor, the first photos appeared. Linghe's well-built back, Jinmai's gently falling dress. The two seem to merge. There are no words, only the rhythm of the breath is in tune. The make-up artists held their breath. The recording assistants clenched their fists. The small audience on the set. The crew all watched this intimate moment like watching an important scene from a movie. The gaze that becomes language. After several physical poses, the photographer asks for long eye contact. Look him in the eye for 5 seconds. Let whatever is on your mind come out through your eyes. Linghe stared. There was something warm flowing through his eyeballs. Attention, understanding, sincerity. Jinmai replied the same, slightly lowering his chin, as if assuring a silent promise. Between the two, there is unspoken language. Words that do not need to be spoken. The camera captures that depth. The viewer in the virtual world who later sees the results feels the same vibration through the screen. A second feels like a minute. When the photographer clenched the shutter button multiple times, the entire creative force of the set understood. They were shooting something that would go beyond mere fashion aesthetics or poses. A whisper that touches the heart. Small micro sounds catch a soft sigh among the silence. In between poses, there was a whisper, "Calm down," from Linghe, almost like a simple command from a trustworthy friend. Jinmai replied with a faint smile. The phrase was recorded by several microphones, not programmed, just a coincidence but enough to add a real flavor to the photo. The crew watching from the monitor smiled, then involuntarily restrained emotions. There felt like a little secret being shared in that room, between two people who were trying to be sincere when it was recorded. Impressed public reaction, leaked to the outside. Some photos the result of selective previews from photographers, accidentally leaked onto the crew's phones and spread to the internal group. In a matter of a short time, the leak entered the fan account and began to circulate. The online reaction is not late. Hashtags are popping up, comments are scattering, theories are popping up. However, behind the public uproar, there are concerns. For Jinmai, who maintains her image as a young professional actress, the photo leak means she's found her personal life is starting to come into the spotlight. To Linghe, it opened up a space where his protective gestures could be interpreted further than his intentions. They both arrive at a delicate point. The moment now belongs to the public. Conversation after the session. A little frankness. The session ended. The crew cheered. They caught the best result. But in the quieter waiting room, Linghe and Jinmai sat alone, away from the crowd. There was a cozy dark there, where the dim lights made their faces seem more human. Jinmai broke the silence. "Linghe, just now, I feel warm. Thank you for making me comfortable." His voice was soft, almost whispering. Linghe let out a long sigh, then looked at him. "I just want you to stay comfortable. We're working. But I also want to make sure you're okay." There was a pause. "If something makes you feel bad, tell me." The words were simple, no big declarations of love, but for Jinmai, it was a real recognition of care. He looked down, then smiled. Whispers and speculations. As soon as the photo spread outside, netizens began to rewrite their stories. There are very supportive ones. Groups of fans who unite small moments into a romantic narrative. Some are more skeptical, calling it a marketing strategy, or simply an overinterpretation of a professional gesture. The agency issued a cautious official statement. "This is a professional photo shoot. Each interaction is part of a creative direction." The statement is true and reasonable, but the emotional truth remains in the photographs. They record something authentic that is difficult to extinguish with just a statement. Impact on both. In the days following the session, the promotional schedule was filled with similar questions from the media. Linghe replied calmly, "We are good friends. We are professionals. The photo captures the chemistry that really exists." Jinmai added, his voice mature yet soft, "We are focused on work, and that is the most important thing." Among the answers, there is a reality. Relationships between people are not always neat. Attention grows easy, public interpretation is fast. They must navigate personal feelings, public expectations, and the imperative of maintaining a career. Reinforcing loneliness. Several weeks passed. That photo shoot session became one of their most talked about portfolios, but life on the set went on. Scenes, scripts, rehearsals. There are moments where they come back like two professionals who used to work, laughing lightly at the wrong take, discussing blocking scenes, sharing snacks. But now there is a new layer. The realization that there are eyes watching not only when the camera is on. At the same time, there's also the comfort of knowing that in the hustle and bustle, there are other people who care. Not a huge form of recognition, but everyday attention, bringing a warm drink when filming is late, reminding of sound heating, or closing a jacket when it's cold. When intimacy becomes a story. At an internal film screening for the team, photoshoot photos were on display as a bonus. The reaction of the internal audience, crew, stylists, photographers was warm applause. The director spoke briefly. "It was not just a photo. That's a story. It's human." Outside, the public comments kept rolling in. Some make fan art, some make slow-motion compilations, some write poetry. The intimacy caught between them became a material for inspiration. Not only does it spark gossip, but it stirs creativity among fans. Joint decision. Aware that their private space was starting to be difficult to maintain, Linghe and Jinmai sat down with their respective management. They talk about boundaries, about how to respond to the public, and about maintaining professionalism. Joint decisions are not indulgence or concealment, but rather maintaining a balance. Be true to yourself, but wise to the audience. They agree to remain professional, but do not pretend to negate the human sense of being caught on camera. It was a recognition of adulthood. Feelings can exist, but work must remain work. Reflection between lights. In the quiet night, Linghe stood on the balcony of the production building while looking at the city. Jinmai came with 2 cups of warm tea. They stood in line, 2 silhouettes in the city lights, and shared the silence. No need for words, just presence. "I'm worried," Jinmai said finally, staring at the hand holding the cup. "I'm afraid people judge me only as part of this romantic story." Linghe nodded slowly. "I'm worried too. But we can take care of it. We know the limits." They both laughed a little. Then there was a sense of relief. The intimacy captured on camera does not erase their right to a safe space. Photos that save stories. Time goes on. The photo shoot became a turning point in their careers. A moment where art, emotion, and humanity met. The photos will remain in circulation. Public interpretations will continue to change. But in the hearts of both of them, there is something simpler. The recognition that touch can be language, that a little attention can mean a lot, and that work together can form a tender bond. Finally, the public will judge, idolize, speculate. But for Zhang Linghe and Zhao Jinmai, what mattered most was, they found a way to make each other feel safe under the glare of the lights. Not for drama, not for news, but because 2 humans cared for each other.